Hi, we're just back from the Odeon Cinema in Northampton, where we went to see the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's adaptation of Homer's epic poem. First thing to say is it was quite the experience in the cinema. The Odeon have decided to automate all their processes so that you have to go to these machines now to order your tickets. So it's rather like these fast food restaurants where you order your food, and then they prepare it for you, give you a ticket number, that sort of thing. But honestly, it was such chaos. You had 4 or 5 staff members who were trying to assist old people like me, and as well, me, I said me, to get through this system, which is incredibly complicated. We ended up ordering luxury seats right at the front. Didn't particularly want that or need
I
that.
mean, Rich, can I just say, I don't feel like you're that old anyway.
Thanks very much.
And don't include me in that. But I do
Certainly
feel
wouldn't.
like there's people who are listening to this who are older,
Yeah.
who can probably work IT better than you.
This is true.
No offence.
But I think if you're paying 50 quid, I think part of the service is someone maybe giving you the ticket stubs. And also when you order the drink and the food, that you don't have to make it yourself, Nando's style. I slightly feel like it'd be better if I just gave them 50 quid, like to an AI robot, and just said, can you watch the film for me and tell me what I thought of it? Maybe that's what this is. Maybe that's already happened. I don't know. But eventually we got in, and we were in the luxury seats at the front. The couple next to us, who I'm sure were very nice, but they seemed to be laying on a double bed. And I kept precariously looking over, wondering if they might be making love at some point during the film. Is there any reason why someone has to lay horizontally whilst they watch a film?
I imagine it's linked to the fact that as soon as you walk in a cinema, you suddenly need a drink that is enough for 3 people.
Yeah.
And a burger or a hot dog, as you had, that was enough for 5 people.
And by, can I say, just fell apart constantly. So I felt like I needed a knife and fork to eat it. But we don't know the couple next to us. This wasn't a swinging session. I mean, the lights were low. It's not like cinema in the 50s. But they were laying horizontally, like hugging. It's just a weird experience.
Yes, I mean, back in our day, as a teenager...
Back in our day. So I'm the one saying we're old, and you're saying back in our day.
If I had agreed to go to the cinema with someone, it would have been thinking that I can sit a little far apart. So that was a bit of a punch for that girl, I think, really.
Yeah, not
I
literally.
didn't expect that.
Yeah. So anyway, went to see the Odyssey, and this is a story that follows the Greek king Odysseus on his perilous journey home after the Trojan War, tracing his multi-year struggles alongside his son Telemachus' search for his legacy, and his wife Penelope's defence of Ithaca against aggressive suitors. Odysseus, played by Matt Damon, faces mythical monsters, tragic guilt, and heavy psychological trauma across fragmented timelines. Penelope, played by Anne Hathaway, and Telemachus, played by Tom Holland, fight to preserve their home against rowdy, parasitic suitors led by Antinous, brilliantly played by Robert Pattinson. The resolution is Odysseus returns in disguise, defeats the suitors with Telemachus, and instead of a traditional ending, chooses a path of reflection and departure with Penelope. So that was the storyline. I thought it was a massive film, an epic, grandiose in its endeavour. What did you think? Did you like it?
Well, as I was watching it, I was thinking about this podcast and society, and it struck me how relevant that story, written nearly 3,000 years ago, remains today.
Yep.
And that to me makes me like it immediately. To me, that's why I like Shakespeare, that I can see that these stories are repeated. Yes, I felt that I could relate to it today in this society that we're in at the moment.
Absolutely.
At its core, it's not really a story about monsters, gods and warfare. There's a lot of physical things happening. But I think it was really telling me a story about returning home, something internal. Something about discovering who you are.
Indeed.
Something about wanting to go back to the familiar, but also wanting to go forwards.
That's very true. Yes. Udin49 from London says, as expected from Christopher Nolan, the Odyssey is an immense technical achievement, Vast in scale, beautifully shot and carried by an absorbing soundscape, particularly impressive on the IMAX screen. I did enjoy it, but it did not resonate with me emotionally as some of Nolan's other films have. For a film reaching for something deep and mythic, I'm not sure it felt quite as profound as it wanted to be. I also wasn't wholly convinced by the casting. There were so many big names that at times I found myself seeing the actors more than the characters. Matt Damon, especially in the island scenes, reminded me of his early Bourne performances when the character had lost his memory. Charlize Theron felt underused, and Tom Holland did not fully convince me in the more conflicted moments. Samantha Morton, however, was excellent, as she always is. And that scene with Samantha Morton, where they're kind of overfed and they morph into these animal creatures, was quite a striking scene, and indeed she was brilliant. I kind of agree with the casting. I'm not sure Tom Holland was the right choice. I did notice when we got into the cinema that Spider-Man was playing at the same time. I assume he's still Spider-Man.
Yes, I mean, for me, I didn't know who Tom Holland was.
Right.
And for me, I was very confused about why this person had been chosen. So I think maybe I felt the same way, but I didn't actually know who he was. I thought Matt Damon was brilliant, but I was most happy about, although he doesn't say a very good thing about him in his review that you've just read, I feel like Charlize Theron
Yeah.
and Anne Hathaway were brilliant.
Yes.
So for me, they were very strong women. Charlize Theron,
yeah.
she was very strong, and I thought
Really
she
well
was,
played as well.
I really loved her in this film.
And
In fact, she was probably my favourite.
Oh, okay. I think
Although
Robert
Anne was
Pattinson.
fantastic as well.
Robert Pattinson was probably my favourite. I thought Anne Hathaway played it wonderfully, in particularly emotional scenes. Yeah, and a strong female character in the sense that she, against all the pressure, she does not choose a suitor and decides to wait for Odysseus to return.
Both were very strong women that we can look up to.
Victoria from Athens in Greece says, here in Greece, the release of Nolan's The Odyssey was much anticipated for all the bad reasons. The uproar from some conservative parts of our society around the casting of a black actor for the role of Helen was really concerning. I, however, was eager to watch it because I was curious to see how Nolan adapted such a difficult work. In our country, we teach the Odyssey in schools as a separate course in the first year of middle school. So every Greek has spent a long time reading parts of the Odyssey and writing analysis of its characters and events. Personally, I don't remember a lot. It's been 10 years, but I have the general picture. When I saw the movie, it was pretty much as I expected. Good movie with a solid screenplay, with very good actors, made by a great director with a huge budget. But I couldn't help but feel that it was a very American version with little connection to Homer's creation. Now, I think that's interesting because I was wondering, and I whispered to you during the film, why did Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson have American accents?
We don't know.
I wonder why Nolan made that decision, though, to give them American accents.
Well, it's a bit like Robin Hood, I would imagine.
Well, yes, famously, Kevin Costner had an American accent in
Yeah,
Prince of Thieves.
so...
Yeah. Who knows? So, overall, I think it was an epic film. It was grandiose. I certainly think it was a lot better than Oppenheimer. I think I particularly like the scene with the Trojan horse, where they snuck it in. Beware Greek
Was that your
sparrows.
favourite scene, Rich?
Yeah, and I like the Kill Bill scene at the end. And I liked I don't know, with Matt Damon, a lot of it, I mean, someone said about the Bourne similarity, but also this is about the character suffering PTSD, essentially, from that war and from that battle. And it reminded me a little bit of Saving Private Ryan, where Ryan, at the end, played by Matt Damon, has PTSD and is sort of rocking and holding his head. It's very similar to that. So I'm not overly convinced by Matt Damon as the casting
Can I say
choice.
at one point I did think that Matt Damon looked very much like Tom Hanks in The Castaway. There was
Yes,
a
that's
scene
true.
that
Yeah.
looked like I could have been watching The Castaway.
Yeah.
But I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought the way he spoke, the long dialogue, the long monologues
Yeah.
he spoke, I felt I felt it was one of his best films.
I certainly think it's an interesting parable of our times. Questioning of armed conflict and the need to see common humanity in others, however far away they may be or from wherever one calls home. So, overall, out of 5?
I think I would give it a 4, Rich. Can I say why?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I felt that I really, really enjoyed that film. In fact, I, like many people listening to this programme, in this particular point in history where we are, if you don't have problems in your own personal life, then you are living in a world of problems. You see the news and you see some devastation across the world to do with the climate, to do with war, etc. It's not a good place. If you don't feel anxious at the moment, you're probably stupid. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. But that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so watching this film, being locked away in this room for 2.5 hours?
It was long, yeah.
3 hours?
Yeah, it's always long with Nolan, isn't
For
it?
that moment, my troubles didn't exist. And that's what I want a film to do.
And I think that's the difference, because a film is escapism.
Yes.
Whereas, I mean,
and so I don't care about that review where it says it should have been more sensitive, it should have been more this. Yes, he's right if I was reading a book and analysing it for my latest study. But if I want to escape, I want that horse to be better than I dreamt of. I want that race to be faster than I could ever see. And I want that queen to be stronger than I can imagine and more beautiful than I can imagine. And I got all of those things. So I felt like I was escaping into a world and shutting the door for that moment.
yeah.
And so it ticked it for me. However, he's put that down to my mind now. So I'm giving it a 4 because he's right.
No, I think I'd give it a 4 as well.
There was sensitivity missing, but at a cost that I'm willing to pay for.
Yes, I agree. Emily Wilson, the classicist whose 2017 translation of Homer's Odyssey was cited by Christopher Nolan in early publicity for his hugely successful adaptation of the poem, has roundly criticised the film, saying it has, quote, nothing convincing to say, and that it, quote, lacks psychological, emotional, political and ethical depth. But I agree with you in the sense that this is a Hollywood adaptation of classic. And if you want those elements of that, if you want those profound elements that make the poem great, the memory, the history, the war, perhaps the poem is the place to see it. This was pure escapism and large-scale, grandiose cinema.
Oh, God, do we need that at the moment? In fact, that maybe that is reflected of the society we're in at the moment. Think of The Wizard of Oz, created at a time when there was war and everything was dark and everything was grey.
And the explosion of sci-fi during
and that
post-war.
film showed you how at the beginning everything was dark, everything was grey, and then bright came. And you escaped. And there was many films at that time where people escaped.
Yeah.
And I feel like we need that now. And we had it. We had it today.
Very true. So I think, a resounding 4 out of 5 for both of us. And I would recommend you go and see it in the cinema. Just to see.
Definitely. I'm a harsh critic and I liked it.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, so a 4 out of 5 from Catherine J is a good score. And see it in the cinema. I'm sorry about my grumbling earlier about the getting into the cinema process, but maybe most people will get through that situation.
But again, we're in a time now where we're looking back to simpler times, wishing for simpler times, but having to move forward, and that was kind of part of our experience. Although I do think that perhaps the system just wasn't working very well.
Maybe it was a one-off.
Maybe it was, but for me, yes, technology. Yes, I was making allowances for there could have been some technology issues.
Yeah.
But also the staff they could have covered up for that. They could have been a little bit more.
Do you think in a way, me getting through that process, I was a bit like Odysseus?
You were a bit like that.
Yeah, thank you. No,
but what I'm wondering
I might have been,
is that if I think back to the days when I was a waitress, we were trained to entertain people.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about serving the food. And if there was a moment where things went wrong, we would gather them up and make them feel they had an amazing experience that day. And I don't feel like they're trained anymore. People are trained anymore to give that customer service.
Well, AI doesn't do that, does it? That process.
And I don't think we're training people to do that because we think AI is covering for it, but it's not. It doesn't replace that.
Will you recommend the Odyssey then to go and see?
100%.
100%. Okay. Thank you. Good night.